Blue Apron, Take Back Dinner. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Liars Club. I'm Felicia Michaels.
And I'm Jessica Wellington.
And for you guys just joining us for the first time, what we do here at the Liars Club is we have two of our comedy pals come on. We ask them to tell two stories. One is a truth and one is a lie. And then we try to figure out which one is the lie. And we do that streaming live here from the Comedy Store's YouTube page. People are playing along. If you're listening to us out in podcast land, know that we do stream live here at the Comedy Store's YouTube page Mondays at 4:30 and most Fridays at 8:30. Jessica, would you please introduce our guest?
I would love to. Thank you so much. This young lady over here, I actually met her with Russell Peters. We had a good time. It was fight night. She's doing stand-up all up, down California. She's not here in L.A., but she's going to sign up tonight for the potluck. This is Jaz Wick.
Welcome to the show, Jaz Wick.
Hi, guys. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And this gentleman, I've been trying to get him on for a long time.
I know. I can't believe it.
I've been stalking him on Instagram for so long. You might know him as the liberal redneck. He has his well-read tour that he's out on.
Wonderful.
Happy to have him here in California more these days. This is Trae Crowder.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Trae Crowder.
Thanks for having me.
We're so excited that you could be on that. And how long has your tour been going on?
Since like 2016.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I mean, we'll take a month off here and there, but pretty much it's been going perpetually.
Wonderful. And because I know, do you do a lot of political humor within your act?
I never, before I had those videos, the liberal redneck videos going viral or whatnot, I would not have described myself as a political comedian, but I've always talked about shit that I wasn't supposed to talk about according to people where I grew up, meaning the Bible or racism, gay people, whatever, just all this that type of stuff. And also, a little bit of politics here and there. But it's not ripped from the headlines like a Bill Maher monologue type thing at all.
Right. I know a lot of political comedians, and sometimes they tell me, I really love the spot I'm in and that I get to have a voice. But sometimes I just want to do dick jokes.
You know
what I mean? No, seriously.
Very,
Fugle sayings,
much.
I just want to talk about sex or my kid.
Yes.
But everyone's political jokes.
No, that's absolutely a thing for me, yes. Some people come to my shows that, think that I'm just going to be up there talking about Trump for an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And no, I definitely relate to that. Anytime I had this bit about my wife freaking out over a cricket being in the house that she couldn't find, and it actually worked, and I was so thrilled with that because it was just just a stupid story about my wife, and I was I feel so good to not have to infuse that with some kind of rhetoric.
Yeah, no, I feel you because
the cricket could have been gay.
It probably was. But I feel you on that because I worked with Fugelsang on a show called Comedy Nation for 3 years, and then it just got so crazy. It was just nice to do this show where we could just be silly again and just do jokes. So I can certainly appreciate that. Should we start the show?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
You're looking at me
that wasn't the show?
Yeah.
This has not been the show?
I'm just listening to you.
Okay. But we do want to welcome for people that are playing along. Are people signed up yet playing along?
Yeah, our good friend Leah down in Bartow, Florida is back. She said, didn't expect that accent out of Trae. Didn't think anyone could out-Southern you, Austin, but I think you've met your match.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. True that. Well, welcome, you guys. Have fun playing along. And let's see, who should start the stories? Trae?
Okay. So just tell the damn story.
Tell the damn story.
Yeah, obviously, don't tell us. We're going to interrogate you a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Don't cry.
All right. So I'm going to do mine in chronological order. So first story, when I was in college.
I thought you meant chronological, here's the life first. I was like,
No. When I was in college, I waited tables for 5 years, and I did it at a couple different chain restaurants like Applebee's, O'Charlie's in Cookeville, Tennessee.
I worked at the Waffle House.
Where?
In Goldsboro, North Carolina.
That sounds like a damn good Waffle House to me. So I like to tell this story to kind of I feel like it's a good representation of that general experience, waiting tables at that kind of restaurant in Cookeville, Tennessee, which is halfway between Nashville and Knoxville on I-40. Most people, if they know about it at all, it's just that's where you stop for gas on your way to Nashville or something. It's I stopped there for a degree because that's where I went to college. And it was like a metropolis compared to the town I grew up in. But anyway, so that's the job I had while I was there. And one day, relatively early on, one night, it was a Saturday night, I was working at Applebee's, and this guy comes in, and he's just the cast of Swamp People would have told this guy to scale it back a bit. You know
Really,
what I mean?
I love watching Swamp People
And,
so much.
he comes in there with his lovely wife, who is I can best describe as demonstrably meth-addled, and they're like, and
She
they're
probably
you know,
weighed 85 pounds.
right, and they're 5 lovely children. You know,
Oh.
Which I'm sure were very calm and polite.
yeah,
All with shaved
yes.
heads.
Right. Took me a minute to even process what you're saying because it was so absurd. Anyway, they come in, they sit down, and it's Saturday, like I said, and I'm busy as hell, and I haven't been doing it all that long, like a year, maybe a year and a half or something. And so this is like a 7 top with only 2 adults at it. And I come up and I, getting my ass kicked, and I can tell this guy's just your stereotypical. Like, as soon as I see him, I know it's like, this is not going to be great. And I go up to him, and the guy's like, orders for everybody else, and he looks at me and he goes,
What makes the onion bloom?
because if it's science, I don't
I
like
don't
it.
like that now.
I don't fuck with science. He looks at me finally, and I get to him, and he's like, steak, extra well done, baked potato butter only, right? And that's it. He stops. It's like, this guy, he knows what he likes, and what he likes ain't queer. You know what I mean? Like, and I, at the time, and I didn't even think about it in the moment because I'm so frazzled, I'm in the weeds, but like every entree at Applebee's, at least at that time, came with 2 sides and a roll, right?
Oh.
Automatically.
So you
So I
had to
get-
ask.
So I get back, but I got back to the
Oh.
computer before that occurred to me. I've already rang in the whole rest of the order. Somebody's waiting on the computer behind me, and his is the last order. And then I realized, like, shit, he only said 1 side item. And I fully admit this was a rookie mistake. But I thought, hey,
Double the
everybody
baked
likes
potato?
that's what
That's what I would have
that's what I
done.
should have done.
Oh,
That's what I should have done. Like, obviously.
right.
But I hit macaroni and cheese because I was like, who doesn't like macaroni and cheese, right? Well, stay tuned. So it comes out a little bit later, and I'm still getting my ass handed to me, so I dish it all out, him last, and I'm like, all right, let me know if you need anything, guys. Okay, and then I go to leave, but I can't leave because he grabs my wrist like that.
He probably
And
doesn't like the
turn
mac
around.
and cheese touching his baked potato.
Well, it was
and
in a
his...
little boat, like a little
that's
boat,
good
little
then.
boat thing.
Okay.
But I got to turn around. He's like, "Hey, buddy," and I turn around like, "Yes, sir." And he looks at me and he goes, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "It's just macaroni and cheese." I thought you'd be like, everybody seems it's pretty popular thing. Everybody, macaroni. He was like, "I ain't want no goddamn macaroni and cheese." Takes his fork with his other hand and just like takes his fork and just scoops all the macaroni and cheese out of the little boat onto the table, like directly onto the table. It's like a sign of protest, I guess. And like looking at me the whole time, and then gets done, and it was like, just stares at me, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'll get my manager. I'll be right back. I apologize." And I go to leave, but I'm unable to leave because he's like still got me. He's like, hold on. What the fuck is that? And I said, it's a roll, like who doesn't like roll? Like having then
It
worked
just
at
comes
O'Charlie,
with it.
I know, and having then worked at O'Charlie's after that, I could tell you for sure, like fucking rednecks, white people of all varieties, really, and free rolls are like this,
Yes.
son.
Right.
Like
Yes,
they
yes,
love
yes,
that
yes,
shit,
Yes.
right? But this dude, no, and he takes his steak knife and like slap shots it off the table and into the floor. And then I go get the manager. He comes over there and, of course, apologizes, like just
Apologizing for
grovels.
what? That you gave him too much food?
But that's how they do, or at least where
So
I
he had
worked
5
at.
kids. Give it to one of the children.
Right. Well, I've never had a manager, and I'm not even talking shit about him because some of them I really liked, but like I never had a manager who wasn't that way while I was waiting tables, meaning like it did not matter the circumstances unless they were like trying to fucking fight somebody or something, but I never saw any shit like that. But like they always were just just totally groveling at the I'm so sorry, and like took care of his steak and everything, and
Oh
fucking,
my God.
Are you serious?
yeah. Well, again, that was like very much the norm for me.
Yeah.
Anytime like, people could be a total nightmare, and they would end up just getting taken care of.
And they didn't tip, probably, huh?
Hell no, that was like a foregone conclusion. You know what I mean? Pretty
you already
much.
knew that was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the most. I did that for 5 years, and I had a few other like nightmare scenarios, but that was probably the most.
So that's your
shitty one.
story, that you were
Yes.
a waiter at Applebee's and some guy was just a complete redneck and
Mhm.
rude to you and
Did
all
you have
that
to
kind
sing
of stuff.
"Happy Birthday" at Applebee's?
No,
No?
not at O'Charlie, not the one in Cookville, nor at O'Charlie's either.
Yeah, that's suspicious. That's a little
I I mean, all right.
Okay. By the way, sitting to the right of me is Austin Walker. He is our on-air producer, and sitting in the booth and switching the cameras is Michael Evans. Michael, what do you think of this story, Michael?
I think that I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on if he'd ever had to sing "Happy Birthday."
Yeah, I know.
Like, cause I'm trying to think of other weird anomalies. Like, I've driven like 1,000 Lyfts and 1,000 Ubers, and I've never had someone throw up or do anything weird in my car.
Oh, really?
So, like, that's another strange. Maybe he just landmine just danced through every birthday on every shift. He just never had one.
No, we didn't. We didn't do it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm not saying I never did it. We did not. That wasn't a thing. You get a little birthday cake with like a balloon tied around the fork or whatever, but not. We didn't do the singing thing.
Applebee's seems like a place that sings to you on your birthday.
Yeah, and any place called Oh Charlie's.
Oh, Charlie's definitely does.
Right?
I worked at Magic
got a
Kingdom,
song
and
in
even
the
we.
title.
Yeah, you're
Oh.
you're,
You know what
you're already
O'Charlie's
singing just saying
Yeah.
the name.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what O'Charlie's is?
Yeah.
They've never. Applebee's is nationwide. I don't like. They might do different things, different places. I don't know. But like O'Charlie's, the corporate headquarters. I worked at the number one O'Charlie's in the entire country. I have y'all know. The number one O'Charlie's in the entire country.
But this happened at an Applebee's.
Yes.
But this happened at an Applebee's.
I started there, wasn't there long because it's shit like, I mean, in the grand scheme
Kept
of
putting
things.
rolls on plates,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Fuck that
Well,
job up.
I mean, that's a simple story, but this is not only a podcast, but it is a game, and that's a good tactic to take as a simple story. And I guess we'll move along for now because I can't really judge it until we hear your second story.
Fair
and
enough.
what you do with that. So, Jazz, why
I
don't
do
you
have
go?
some comments
Okay,
real quick
okay,
online.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Leah has never waited tables before, but she is convinced that she'd be a better waiter than Trey. And
Wow.
Ken Lofgren, who is
Wow.
back and not dead, so we can
kinda
cancel the
Thank
search
you,
warrant on that.
Ken.
Ken.
He says, I've never not once didn't sing Happy Birthday at any restaurant I worked at. Now, there might be a double negative in there, but I think what he's saying is he's always saying Happy
Right.
Birthday at the restaurants that he's worked
yeah,
at.
Applebee's
so.
is kind of a happy birthday place that where they say
Like Chili's.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
rival of
Yeah,
Chili's in my
yeah.
mind.
But then again, like I can totally see that story happen because the little town that my dad lives in, Marion, Kansas, next to that they have an Applebee's in the little town next to it. So I mean, I could see where that would definitely happen with all that, and people are very specific about their food because they haven't had a big variety of food, right?
Yeah, but it's ridiculous. I think if you're given extra food, then you just put it to the side and don't eat it.
Well, if you have 5 kids sitting there.
You give it to one of
Yeah,
them. I mean,
yeah.
you don't
Not-
say no to the extra food.
Well,
I
how
think
was
for
he
this guy,
dressed?
it was about the fact. I mean, like a trucker at had like the hat with like the mullet type thing going down, and like some kind of like shirt with a cartoon on it. Not like a cartoon character, like
Right.
a cartoon truck. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little lost myself.
No, those whole, like they're like
Like a transformer?
no.
No, I know what you mean, dude. Just
Okay.
just some T-shirt art.
Yeah.
T-shirt art.
T-shirt art.
Jesus.
Art.
I know that
The
Jessica
operative
is
word.
relieved that you didn't turn to her as the master of white trash people. Like, Austin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I wore my gator shirt for a reason.
Yeah,
Just-
there you go. There you go. Okay, well, that's a good first story. Let's start with your story, Jess.
All right. My story, I realized I've had a lot of weird paranormal stuff. So I was thinking kind of a lot about the stuff that stuff that they've told me. And, you know, when I've had family members pass away, I've had some really weird shit happen. And
God.
so
I know.
You know that
You are
this
talking to
room
the wrong
happens to be
person.
haunted
Okay.
as
No,
well.
I love
Well,
it.
yeah,
I love it. We don't
So-
get enough of this shit.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
He thinks there's like, what is it, spectral, what is it, spectral
orbs.
orbs
Yes.
going on.
Yeah,
And it's
no.
like,
I'm
it's
the
dust
girl,
in the
there's
camera.
energy. I believe the stage.
They're probably
changes
surround- I'll
the
send you the video
ions
afterwards. They're
and
probably all around you
that
right now.
stuff.
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
in, dude.
Okay,
Fuck you
we're
guys.
in.
Yeah.
So basically I always get kind of weirded feelings in around Halloween because I've had even stuff around Halloween. So it's almost like I can't even do haunted houses anymore just because I'm too much in my head now. So I had just moved into an apartment in Huntington Beach, and it was a couple months before October. And they told me when I move in, everything was fine. They just needed to do the light fixtures and install a fan in the bathroom, like bring it up to code. Because they're like, oh, we don't have a fan. You're going to get mold if you take a shower. So we have to put it, build everything to code. And what girl doesn't like a loud fan in her bathroom? Right? So I was excited. I was like, yes, I'm getting a loud fan. So they install it. I go to work. come back. I'm happy. Everything's installed. The next morning, I'm getting ready for work, and I noticed this like little worm on the floor, and it's like a squishy worm, like a worm that I don't know. And mind you, I just moved to Huntington.
That you don't know?
You don't know.
Like, listen, this was a strange worm. Okay.
He didn't introduce himself. Okay.
Right, yeah.
No, but it was like I'm coming into Huntington Beach, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a weird beach worm, but I'm not technically by the beach.
What did it look like?
It was squishy.
Like, okay.
Well, most worms are.
He was
though.
doing a hang loose sign. That's how she knew it was a beach worm.
So I didn't know, and I didn't have time to Google it. I was just like, okay, I picked it up with a napkin, and I didn't want to kill it because it was too squishy. So I just run outside and I throw it in the bushes. And then I'm kind of freaked out, but I had to go to work. So go to work, and I'm still thinking, like, what is this fucking worm? Come back home. There's nothing on the floor, but I left the light on, which is connected to the new fan. And I leave the light on, go to the kitchen, come back. Now there's 2 worms, and they're just like kind of scurrying along.
How big are the worms?
They're like this big.
Are they white?
They were. I didn't know. They were like a beige color, so I couldn't figure it
How
out.
long were they?
Cubans.
They were like this. They were like, one was bigger than the other. That's what was freaking me out.
Were they maggots?
I didn't know. I actually didn't. I've never really seen maggots. So so I thought, I'm looking along the bottom of the floor, and I'm like, is there any holes in the floor? So same thing. I grab them again. I go outside and I throw them out. And now I'm looking. Now I'm freaking out, and it's like 9:00 at night now because this is the end of the day, and I see one just fall from the ceiling, and now I'm like, okay. So I look up, and in the new little fan that they installed, and there's that cover, there's like a shadow of them, and they're just like 5 of them just squirming around. And I don't have anyone home, and I didn't know what to do. Maintenance I can't call like Terminex because I live in an apartment. So I end up grabbing the thing, and then I throw it in a bag, and I throw it. I'm basically
grabbing what thing? The top of
the top of the fan. Yeah,
it just came off like that.
Yeah, I could pull it off, and because I didn't know what to do, there was like little holes. So rather than have them there all night, I throw that piece in the bag, take it outside, and then I ended up taping everything with paper. So I didn't have anyone to help.
Wow.
And you just how did you do that? Did you have a chair?
I have. I'm a short girl. I'm 5'2", so I always have like big like ladders around my house for spiders and stuff. So I go, and then
you have more than one ladder around your house?
Sure. Yeah, I have a baby stool, and then I have like the 3-stepper. So then I get up there and I tape it shut. And I shit you not, the next morning, there's a couple like trying to get out. So these guys were aggressive. They were
When they heard what you did to their buddies, they were like,
coming for me.
You keep
They're
fucking...
coming for me. And so finally maintenance comes.
Yeah, they heard that you evicted Cheryl and Todd.
That shit don't stand.
Poor Todd.
No, they were coming. And then so maintenance finally comes, and he's like starts his day like at middle of the day. So that was really annoying because I was hoping like I texted him at 8:00. And he's like, oh, I can't be there till 12. And I'm like, I have an infestation. Like, help me. I don't know where this is. And I wanted to believe at this point maybe they were maggots, but how? Where's the source? So he ends up telling me he's going to go upstairs. And there's an attic that my apartment connects to because it's older. And not something I realized when I moved in there, but he takes the ladder. He has a full ladder.
Oh, not one of your many ladders that you have hanging around.
His ladder.
Okay.
He goes into the attic and he comes back out. He's like, you want the good news or the bad news? And I was like, I want to know the worst news possible. He's like, a rat died above your bathroom and they didn't plug the holes and the maggots are basically trying to escape.
And you couldn't smell the dead rat?
Exactly. That's what they said. But
well, because the fan was sucking out.
Yeah.
Dude, it was an exhaust fan.
Yeah, but if you've ever had a dead animal in your house,
but
I have.
So my roommate
but that's
and
in your freezer.
We're always using like incense too. So I got like sage and like patchouli. So maybe I didn't even notice it.
And maybe it was pretty fresh.
Yeah. Well, and it was like really hot that week. So, and it was literally like, it was around Halloween.
So you're telling me it was really hot and you didn't smell a dead animal above you?
That's what they said. Yeah. That's what they said. They're like, how did you not know?
Well, it couldn't have been there that long because if they just installed it.
Yeah. And they just...
I'm sure they would have
moved. But you were saying on
rat.
the first night that you moved in, you saw that.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
I was there, like, this was Halloween, and I moved in there, like, maybe about a month before.
Oh, okay.
And then they're like, oh, we're going to put in some new stuff.
Yeah.
And I was excited. And then after, I was like, look, I'm like, where can I move? Like,
Yeah.
Well, you don't need to move. I mean,
I was
rats die, you
terrified.
know?
Yeah. I might have to call into question because when you have a critter, especially rats are fat little fucks. And
Yeah.
you have, sorry to say the F word,
No,
but
I used to
think you
breed
would-
rats. You know
yes,
that, right?
yes.
Get the
yeah.
fuck out of here. Why did you do that?
Because she had a snake in England. Everybody knows.
Oh, right.
But then I just bred them in Sacramento for fun, for pets. And
Just for sport.
Just for fun.
Wow.
For the bloodline.
Wowie.
She was going to feed him to her cat, and then it died, and she put it in
It
the
died.
freezer.
The
So.
cat's in the
Something's wrong with
freezer.
your rats, man.
Something's
got weird
Breeding
animals.
poison rats.
I had this experience because I moved to Topanga last year, and there's a lot of flies in
Oh,
Topanga.
yeah.
And I had a little garbage can, and it's a really tiny because the big one I put outside because anyway, and the flooring is this weird type of. I live in a trailer. I'm not embarrassed to say that to you guys.
It's a very
We've
nice
all
trailer. I
been
don't know
there.
why
it's
she
very
does this.
but because it's a
The
trailer.
nicest trailer
I think
I've
you're
ever
amongst
been
friends
to.
It's a
today,
trailer.
Felicia.
It's
Don't
a
worry.
trailer. It's a
Yeah.
trailer. It's a mobile home trailer, 1963. It's really cool. But the flooring is like that vinyl flooring that has like it's black with the white little lines, squiggles and speckles, like cafeteria flooring, but it's really funky looking. And so one day, I didn't realize this. I was walking around in my little kitchen, right? And then I see something move on the floor, right? And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I look all on the floor. There's like 1,000 of them, right? And it was like
1,000 flies?
1,000 maggots, right?
Oh,
and
man.
I was like,
God.
what the fuck? Like, I was like that. And they are hard to catch, dude.
Well,
They
where did
are
your
hard to-
where did your maggots come from?
Who's your maggot guy?
I just
Where do you
jumped,
get your maggot?
I just jumped up and down, Jessica. No, they came from the trash can was like this little trash can, and it was like slightly askew, and a fly had gotten in there, I guess, and it took me because I didn't, you didn't see them like coming out of the thing, but it was just like, my God, they were everywhere, and so I could see where that would be if you didn't know what that was, how that would be frightening. But that being said, I can't believe that a dead rat would be in your attic for a month and you would not smell it because
It wasn't a month.
she said she was there
Yeah,
for a
but
month.
don't you think if they put the fan in, they would have, if the rat was there, they would have moved it?
But she said that how long did it take before you got the fan in there?
So I was there for at least a month, and then the particular week that it was hot is when
They put the fan in.
maggot. Yeah, same week. Yeah.
And
So,
they put the fan in,
The
and then a week
sequence,
later,
yeah.
you had maggots.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
and the maintenance guy.
No, Jessica, I don't see what you're saying.
And the maintenance guy described to me that like rats are very oily, and he's like, yeah, I saw his little streak of where he traveled, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
Right.
Yeah, so it was only there for a week.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I had a friend
in a hot attic.
that I dated, and he had something like under his bathtub or something in a little apartment, and
Yeah,
it
I have
smelled.
skunks that live under my
Yeah,
house.
it was a dead
Currently,
animal.
Like right now?
Every goddamn thing you say, I swear.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
But
Straight up.
I'm just saying, I can't believe there was no smell, especially a rat, because that is like when there's death underneath the house
Yeah.
or in the attic. You can.
You should try living in a trailer that is in front of a field that they cut, right?
Jessica.
Every year, and then you
Yeah.
just get mice.
Yes. I live in
Okay.
Topanga. It's a big field.
Yeah, but they don't cut it.
Well, that might be true.
Pulling your trailer card over here.
Yeah,
She
I
said,
know, I know. Don't make
That ain't
me
even
pull
a
my
trailer.
card around you fucks.
He lives in an airstream. It don't count.
It's not an Airstream. I wish.
Those are classic.
It's retro to her.
Yeah, no, it's funky. It's cool. It's funky, but it is a trailer. All right. Well, that's a good story. By the way, I wanted everyone to know we're brought to you by Blue Apron. If you ever wanted to try a meal delivery service, why not try Blue Apron? Sometimes I'm on the road, not very much, but when I am, the last thing I want to do is go to the grocery store one last time. Right, Jessica?
I never want to go to the grocery store, and I live right
Yeah.
in front of one.
There you go. And Blue Apron also delivers wine. They do lovely food and wine pairings, so you might want to give that a chance. If you decide to go look at Blue Apron and you decide you're going to try it, when you go to the checkout, if there's a little box, a code box, please put in Liars, and you'll get either $30 off or 30%. We have to check the email, but just do us a favor, go to Blue Apron. All right. Got that out of the way. Trey, your second story?
Okay.
He's dumbfounded by the professionalism of this podcast.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
It's like, oh, wow, it's the whole thing. All right, this was more comedy related. When I was still in Knoxville and like very much a baby comic, like 18 months in or less. I did like a prank show pilot for
Okay.
CMT called Prove It, in which I
Meaning like moonshine proof.
no that'd have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. No, prove it, like prove that you have got the balls to do the stupid thing we're telling you to do,
Okay.
basically. So like I got like hit across my bare chest with a mop that had been shoved in a toilet because that's hilarious. And
Clean toilet or
Yeah.
dirty toilet?
it was
So it sounds
supposed
like-
to be ostensibly it was dirty, but they told me like it's not real, but I bet it was actually dirty.
It
You
sounds
know what I
more
mean?
like a
Like-
jackass of
It was okay.
country
One
jackass.
of the important details of it is that it was being done by, as in produced by or whatever, the Impractical Jokers.
Oh, okay.
So it was more that style. It was, but they were doing it for CMT. So there you go, right? And we had to eat peppers blindfolded, but like I never really got that because like I wouldn't have known really. All the peppers looked kind of the same, but like a couple of them would just like light your ass on fire, you know, and
Right.
they would let you drink anything, and dress up like a banana and sing Taylor Swift songs in Market Square.
Hold
in
on, you ate the
Knoxville.
peppers blindfolded, but they all look kind of different. How, if you're blindfolded, how do you know what they look like?
Okay, we were
Saw
a
'em
group.
beforehand.
We were a group. Yeah, there
Oh,
was
what's the
4 of us, and I saw the first 2 do the pepper thing before me. But when I walk up, I'm still blindfolded, and it's they mixed the bowl up and shit. They were slicker than that. Anyway, dress up like a banana, and sing Taylor Swift songs in Market Square. And
Did you do that?
Yeah.
What song did you sing of Taylor Swift's? Could you sing it for us
I
right
was-
now?
No, I could not.
Please.
Really?
No, I
Really?
could not.
Really?
Probably
Not
get sued.
one little bar?
No, it was the
Come on
Hey,
now.
hey there, Romeo. Be alone. I'll be you be the prince, and I'll be the princess. It's a love story, baby. Just
Say
say
yes.
Nice.
Yeah, how about that?
There you go. I don't know why you hesitated.
Because you see, I start with the. I had to find it. That's all. Hey, that's all. That's a real put on the spot thing, depending
yeah.
on the person.
Taylor
Yes,
Swift.
yeah.
Any song.
we
really,
like
it's
to do that.
Sing that now. But I got there. But anyway, yeah, it was the Impractical Jokers, and they did 2 of them
Mhm.
at the same time, and they sent CMT both cast, meaning 2 of them as in they're 2 cast of 4, completely different. And it was for CMT, and the one I was in were like the hillbilly cast or whatever, the
Right,
Southern cast,
Right.
and the other cast was like Mormons, 4 Mormons, like super Mormony Mormons.
Mormony.
Mormon. Hold on. And where
More
were you?
Mormony.
Where were you?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
In Knoxville?
Well, they
Yeah.
got Mormons in Knoxville.
They were not from Knoxville.
Okay.
They got flown there from, I assume, Utah.
These were not Knoxville Mormons.
No.
Okay, all right.
They came from, I assume, Utah. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Right.
But I was just like, I always thought that was weird
It
because,
was very weird.
and it was an open casting call thing that I got by
Yes, tell us.
filming myself snorting hot sauce.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we happen to have some hot sauce here.
Yeah, you're not gonna believe it.
From Blue Apron.
From Blue Apron.
Take
That's-
back dinner.
What? Did
Yeah.
you do a lot of crazy stuff like that before
No.
you found?
No.
Okay.
Never at all. And I was doing comedy at the time, but that didn't have anything to do with it.
So
they
when-
didn't see me at the club or anything. They're
When
like,
you
hey,
s-
you got something, kid.
Now, when you snorted the hot sauce, did you use a straw? Like,
Mm-mm.
how did
Oh.
you snort the hot sauce?
It on like a little paper plate and just
A
went
line of
down.
hot
Uh-huh.
sauce.
Yeah.
And don't ask me the brand of hot sauce because I
That's what I
don't
was
remember.
gonna
I
ask.
Yeah.
don't remember.
Was it a lot of hot sauce or a little bit?
No, like a line,
Yeah.
Like a line. Like a line.
Come on, dumbass, a line.
Chopping up hot sauce.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember the brand. And then I had
What happened when you snorted that hot sauce?
it fucking burned, and I
Yeah.
was just like, oh shit, God,
Well,
crank my
Tabasco
own
Tootsie.
red up a lot. You know what I mean?
Now we're
Like
both
my
from the
redneck.
South. Did you ever like huff air freshener?
No, I don't know how I avoided that, but
Okay, well, I mean,
So-
whatever, cool.
yeah,
He's like, yeah, me neither.
You had some go rounds with the Glade Demon, huh?
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Damon.
I know, it'll get you. And it didn't go. Can't imagine why. But like at the time, I was so insanely excited and thrilled about the
You thought
whole
this was
thing.
gonna be
This,
it.
This
Yeah, I know
is
that
it.
feeling.
Yeah.
This is it. And I'm only 18 months in. I'm still in Knoxville and all this, and I'm like, I'm
This
here.
is my ticket out of
I've
here.
arrived.
I'm going to Utah to be with the Mormons.
Yeah. And then it didn't go, and then it was nothing shit else for me for the next 4 or 5 years
Uh-huh.
after that or whatever.
Now, did they ask you to do something where you're like, no,
No.
right? And you-
No, I did it all.
And there was only the 3 things they asked you to do?
No, there were others, but I didn't do. One of them was in a bar. The Tennessee was playing football, and it was a bar in downtown
Well,
Knoxville.
you can call it that.
I knew. God damn it.
Go
As soon as,
Gators.
as soon as I said that, I saw you gearing up. I was like, here, I know what the. I walked right into this shit. Anyway, it was a bar in downtown Knoxville, so it's filled with people watching the game, and 2 of the other people on my team had to go in there and do something. I literally can't remember. I didn't do that one. We also went to a skating rink. That's where I got hit with the mop. But they did other shit at the skating rink that I don't remember because I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Was it good money?
Yeah, did you
Uh,
get paid? They probably didn't pay you much,
No,
right?
we did get paid, but I mean, yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Like whatever the minimum was that they could have
Yeah.
at the time,
All right.
which I don't even remember.
Do we have any questions from people online that are lovingly playing along?
Always 54 says, who doesn't do that? Sounds like a typical weekend at his house. I mean,
Jesus.
slapping them off.
Jesus.
April Schneider said, snorting hot sauce, that ain't funny. It's just dumb. But I explained to her.
I
the Tennessee
agree.
thing.
How old were you at the
Completely.
time?
25, 26.
26?
Wait, is that right? Yeah, a little old for that.
That's a little hijinky for 26.
I know. Yeah, I'm not defending any of that shit.
Ken Lofgren is not buying this story because of a pause before you said the snorting hot sauce thing. Felt like you were acting.
Oh, I was.
So-
he thinks that I. Okay.
He thinks
'Cause I
you were
did
like getting
gather
into
myself.
character
Okay.
or something.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but you remember how we were always saying, like, when people are remembering a
they
real
kind
story?
of stagger about for
Right.
the actual words sometimes because
Yeah.
you're remembering it.
They didn't have to rehearse that one because they're like,
Right.
No,
it's true.
I
I'll
know
just-
what he's talking about. That was me being like, oh, God damn it. About the thing that I did.
Uh-huh.
It was me like cringing inwardly
Okay.
before saying it.
Okay.
And he saw that and thinks that was bullshit. No, that's fair.
We've never actually had anyone voice that we've made them cringe inwardly while we're doing
Well,
the
I made
podcast. It's always
I
after,
made
like, that
myself.
made me cringe.
Question from online: how old are you now, Trey?
33. I'll be 34 in April.
Ah, you have kids?
Uh-huh.
April 9th, right?
No.
Fuck, I thought I
Was that just a random thing? Okay.
I just thought I
It's a
thought
good
you
guess.
told
If,
me.
if you got it right, what? Holy shit! Do you do that with everybody all the time?
He's like,
That's a
I got
funny
a-
thing to do.
I got
They
a
say their
1 in
birth
30.
month, and you're just like the 17th, right? And you're like, it could be. And
you
eventually,
tried.
you're gonna get
You're gonna
one.
get one
You're gonna
right.
get one
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. April what though?
The 8th.
Oh, 8, because I knew mine's the
close.
7th. We were close.
We want to
Okay.
say hey real quick to Lori because she's tuned in from Cookeville, Tennessee right now.
Oh,
So I
nice.
mean,
welcome,
Yeah, go-
welcome.
Go Golden Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Did she
Anything
ever see
else?
that
Anything
CMT?
else?
It
Yeah,
didn't.
did it ever air?
No.
Didn't
It
go.
never
It
aired.
didn't go.
Oh,
It never
all
saw the
that?
light
Yeah.
of
You
day.
didn't
Yeah.
get anything on there?
No, that is very much par for the course. in
And
my
did any
experience.
of the
Like, nothing
actual
ever airs.
Impractical Jokers come? Any of those guys actually
of 'em.
came?
2 of
yeah.
them. If-
Which ones?
Murr and Joe.
All right.
did you know of what the name of the club was that you got slapped in the chest with a mop?
It was a
That was
skating
at the skating rink.
Oh, the skating.
The bar, if I'm not mistaken, was the Roaming Gnome. But I'm.
You know of a bar called Cotton Eye Joe's in Knoxville?
Yes, of course.
I worked with
Yeah.
Brett Michaels there.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Crazy time in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't Knoxville have the most restaurants per capita or
What?
something? Yeah, per
that's New
the
York City.
no, per the
There's a lot
amount
of
of
capitas in New York City. though.
per the amount of people,
Right.
because there's, I guess, I think it's didn't they used to have a side splitters there?
Yes.
Yeah, then Knoxville
where I
has the
started.
most amount of chain restaurants than any other city in the country.
No shit.
Because it's people drive through Knoxville a lot. It's a
Yeah.
big thing, yeah. And per the amount of people, I remember because I worked side splitters, and The owner.
When'd you do that?
This is about. I
You
don't know
it's closed now. It
Yeah, I
closed
heard.
down
It's,
years
yeah,
ago.
like 8 or 9 years ago, and the guy was like, "This is most restaurants and blah 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 blah."
Was his name Coley? That sounds like the shit Coley would
No,
say.
no. But I remember that weirdly.
He was upselling.
yes,
Okay.
upselling the.
I never heard that, but I mean,
P.F.
I
Chang's.
guess I could.
That
buy
was
it.
weirdly in Knoxville. I think I probably said, "Why is there a P.F. Chang's here?" And then he gave me that information because that was like so weird.
Real quick, somebody's calling this a lie because of the fact that Impractical Jokers hasn't been long enough, around long enough to add up with that timeline. They said
Yeah,
it's
but
only
they
been
were-
6 to 7
They've
years.
been trying. Maybe they were trying to find. Like they were. That's what they were.
No,
8
no, no.
years.
Impractical.
Ooh,
No,
that's
hold
a
on.
good
Whoa,
point.
no, no, no.
Oh, no,
Let me
that's a good
think for a
point.
second. I started comedy I started comedy in 2010, and I said I've been doing it for about a year, maybe a year and a half. So,
So
this would have been
12,
12-ish, probably. Check it. I don't know. I mean, it was then. I'll say this. I didn't know
That's a good point.
when they
They've
first
been
showed
on
up.
for a long time though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to
But-
say since I was in high school, and that's almost 10 years.
Yeah, but to have that much success where they're gonna let them produce another show.
I don't know. That shit boomed right away. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's been around a lot longer than Kenneth is making it sound like online.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Maybe in Washington. Well,
Yeah.
you're from Washington, Mike.
We're not allowed to Google, by the way. So
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
they can't
so,
tell for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
try not to Google if you're watching along.
We just have to have a good old-fashioned discussion about it, like the old days.
All right, well, that was a excellent second story, and let's move on to Jazz and your second story.
All right. My other, the once again the paranormal stuff, the weird stuff that I've been.
I don't understand
involved-
why maggots are paranormal.
I know. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
expecting ghosts.
Somebody
Yeah,
Somebody
So
online
close
did ask,
word.
where does
Oh,
the
yeah,
paranormal
yeah.
thing come
So
into the maggot story?
The whole
Sorry.
reason was because it was the Halloween week.
Because the rat believe in ghosts.
and no, I felt there was just something
Oh, man,
weird.
sounds like a story
There-
dismantling to me.
There was something very weird happening that week. So, but basically, I've had just weird stuff with different apartments. And so this other apartment that I was living in, the kitchen overlooked. This is when I was I'm actually from Northern California, so it was when I was in the Bay Area. And so this apartment that I moved into, the kitchen window overlooked this kind of like an empty. It was like a business center that had a few offices. So there was like a chiropractor's office. There was a middle one that it was like a spa. And then there was like a billing. It was a very bizarre building. Like I've never seen anything like it. And it didn't take me long to figure out what the middle building was because there was always a car driving in, stuck around for an hour and left. So because it was my kitchen window, I started looking, and it would be men that would drive up to this office, which was what I learned to be a spa. So it had spa on the outside. So
Oh yeah, I want to work at a sensual massage place.
Yeah.
I want to be at the desk, or I want to work at a strip club as a house mom. I'm really looking for this. So if anybody out there has any leads, I really do want to do that.
Well, in the Bay Area.
I think he would be fun.
There would have been this one.
Take back dinner.
Probably.
I know.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
All right, continue your
But
story.
The reason I didn't know at first what was happening is just I started looking at these cars that would pull up, and then it was always men that would get out, and then they could never just walk into the building. They'd have to knock on the door. And then that's when I saw that there was these cute little Asian girls that would, well, not like girls, women, dressed up in like, their little bikini, lingerie stuff. So then I realized, okay, it's not a spa. And so it made sense.
Where did you see those girls in their bikinis?
My window literally looked over into this parking lot. So you could actually.
They were outside in San Francisco weather in bikinis?
Oh, no. It was like in San Jose. So I'm
San
from
Jose.
Campbell, California. It's
Uh-huh.
Bay Area. So about an hour from San Francisco.
Same question, though. It's pretty chilly up there, and they're out in the parking
Oh,
lot in
they-
bikinis.
not
No,
the
they
parking lot.
opened.
They
They
opened
just
the
opened the
door.
door.
Oh, just
and
open
yeah,
the door
so
and
you
you
could
would see
just
them.
see them,
Okay.
and then they and I could see it straight through. And the men would go in. So it just became like an entertainment thing. Like anytime my friends would come over, I'd be like, "You want to see the rub and tug like across the parking
Right.
lot?" and then sure enough, like you'd see all these men always, and it was just men for like about an hour, and they take off. So it just became entertainment. But then I was sleeping actually one night, and my mind was always like, okay, it's just a matter of time before these people get caught. Like, how can this be happening, right? And so finally one night I wake up and there's like, police cars and sirens. So pretty much a raid. And so in the Bay Area, I mean, there was
Yeah,
even
you call it paranormal. I call it prostitution.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So pretty much, there was a big prostitution problem. Like kind of like even in my parents' neighborhood, there's a casino, and it was just kind of something that I started seeing everywhere in the Bay Area. And but anyway, so this whole raid thing that happened, so I see men actually were handcuffed and stuff, and then there were the girls that they brought out. So it was very like a movie-like setting. I did see a stretcher come out though with the covered body. So that's when I'm like, okay, this is actually a little bit more real. So I had 3 months in my lease, and I'm just like, okay, I want to get the fuck out of here because now at this point, now that this is an empty building, I don't think I want to live here anymore. So the paranormal thing that happened, this is about a week after, so that building's completely empty. I'm freaked out now, so I kept the curtains shut. I didn't want to look out that parking lot anymore. And I was walking to my car, I was going to work, and I actually saw this girl, like, kind of what's the word? Crouch? Thank you.
Hunched
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, hunched down, and she's
Crunch.
by my by my tire, by like the back of my car, and I was like, are you okay? And she didn't say anything, and then I said, do you live here? So I did this motion, and then when I looked back, she was gone. So I went back to my apartment because I kind of was in shock. I didn't know what
You
to
thought
do.
that was the dead prostitute?
I didn't know what to think because I'm looking and I'm like, my car, I didn't see where she would have gone, and it happened really fast. And I literally did this motion, and I looked back, and she was gone. So I didn't know where she would have ran into. I go back into my apartment because I'm like really just freaked out, and all the lights were on in my apartment and one of the faucets. So
What?
yeah.
Damn.
No, seriously. That's what I thought. That's what I
Damn.
no, it was a lot. And so I only lived there, like, I actually was able to break the lease like a month earlier.
Well, I don't believe
are
that
the-
shit.
Yeah, like you didn't ask, like like if there's a dead body comes out of a building next to mine, I'd be asking all the
Research.
neighborhoods.
No, there
yeah.
was-
You at least Google and see
no.
who died.
There was the story. Like, I mean, I didn't go over all that. There was the whole story.
What is the whole story?
the
what
whole
happened?
story? There was just there was a raid, and there was like, I don't know, they had to investigate, and
Well, what was
Well, hold
the
on.
dead body?
Yeah. What do the jerkers have to do with it? Like with the
no, I don't. I
Jesus.
no. So that
did somebody get killed? Who's
Yeah,
the
who
who's the ghost? Is the
By the way-
ghost a whore? Is this a whore ghost? Is this a,
no,
Sorry.
I was.
By the
trying-
way, I just want to say this is me before we start the podcast. We won't get dirty because I know you have like a really political. No, I'll say anything. So where's the jerkers? What was the jerker doing?
no, I don't.
I'm
That's,
trying to tell you.
No, it was like one of those things that you could like look up the story, and then there wasn't really much that I could find out about it. So, and I don't know if it's because it was like a foreigner type of situation.
So you
So,
don't know who died. You don't
I-
know who was on the stretcher.
No, I have no idea.
Was it a big body or
no,
a little
it was like,
body?
It was
on the
like a
stretcher?
little body, and like I could see like long hair.
You
so
could see the
I
lube fall from her
figured-
hand or something.
I figured it was a girl, and I didn't
Yeah.
know what had happened, but I mean, it's just because there were so many stories in the Bay about all these prostitutes and all these kind of raids around these hotels in the Bay Area.
What time
So
of day was it that you went down there and saw that
this
girl?
was like, I was going to work at like 5:30 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
so it was still pretty dark.
And I know that you're not even saying this, but
Mhm.
like it's funny to think that like you saw that ghost
Uh-huh.
and that pissed her off, and she's like, oh, "I'm gonna show her. I'm gonna go do some ghost shit in her apartment real quick.
Yeah.
Turn all these lights on.
Yeah.
Faucet. Classic.
I've had some
Ghost
weird
shit.
stuff happen.
Yeah.
So if you were
Ghost shit.
if you were
shit.
on your way to work,
Uh-huh.
why did you go back to your apartment?
Because I was in shock and I really didn't know what to do. I just
She
like,
thought she just saw a ghost.
yeah.
I mean, at 5:30, I mean, I can see that.
Uh-huh.
5:30 in the morning, you see a goddamn ghost.
yeah, and I
Drive
didn't
your car.
because it's like one of those things like you're rushing, you're in work mode, and then you get to your car and you're like, "Are you okay?"
Now you're in ghost
And
mode.
now you're now
Totally
she's
different
gone.
mode.
So
You
Work
had me
mode,
till that
ghost
part.
mode.
You had me till that part. Yeah, I've seen a ghost.
Yeah.
Before.
Uh,
Jessica's
I-
not this fucking ball and chain story.
here we go.
And I don't. And afterwards, I didn't run to my hotel room. And
What did you do?
I had
you
to.
did run on one, didn't you?
Oh, I ran
That's-
when I saw the ghost here.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see the ghost
See?
here. I just saw some weird shit go down in front of me, and then I ran out of the
A
back
door
of.
moved.
I ghost pulled the handle
I've
several
had doors
times.
move too.
It's
but
it was
I
a
leave before I
pocket
can
door,
see.
Jessica, and it went boom, 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 boom. So whatever. It was a pocket door. But I did see a ghost head before, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
And then I had to go on stage because it was backstage in Las Vegas at the old Dunes Hotel when the Comedy Store was there at the Dunes Hotel. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. I saw it.
I
Fuck
believe
y'all.
you. I do.
Okay.
I have seen
But
them.
I would have never been like, I can't do my set. I gotta go up and regroup in my hotel room.
Well, I
Well, no,
couldn't.
like, you gotta-
I
you
didn't
gotta
want
do
to
the
even
set,
walk
yeah.
into my car. Like I just was. It was dark, and I just went into that shock of
I don't know that
deer
part.
and headlights, and then I went back because I thought, okay, I gotta call someone, and I don't want to be out here in the dark.
How many years ago was this?
This was, and when I was in San Jose, it's like probably 5 years ago.
So you had a cell phone, but
Yes,
you
I did.
had
No,
to go
I
up
didn't
to
have-
your,
I didn't have my
into
walkie-
your apartment and use a real phone.
No landline. I think I've had a cell phone since like late 90s even.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Why
Yeah.
don't you just get your cell phone? I would have gotten in my car, locked it, and used my
I
cell
didn't
phone.
want to be by my car.
The part,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
That part I don't think is all that weird. She sees a crazy thing and
Yeah.
just freaks out and runs away.
No, I mean,
that's
I've-
that's one of the like.
Yeah, but I
two-
think I would have gotten in my car. and
Yeah.
locked the
That's
door.
where the
Yeah.
ghost was. You didn't hear?
No,
Yeah.
she was outside the car.
Yeah,
She was
but-
outside
yeah,
the
but-
car.
How do you
The
know
back-
she didn't apparate into the car?
Great word. Great word.
Is that a real word?
That's
Ghost shit.
Is
Well,
that a,
It's a real word.
Ghost shit.
It's a real word in the Harry Potter series.
It is? Okay. If that's a reference we're using, Michael, it's about perfect. What are people online saying, Austin?
Well, Jason Borland wants to know, Jazz, did you know that both stories aren't supposed to be true? Or are there is? I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm having
Yeah.
a stroke right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Somebody call an ambulance. Jason Borland says, does she know, talking about Jazz, one of the stories is supposed to be true, so he thinks you told both lies.
I
And then
know.
adds, liar, liar, ghost on fire.
Great.
Other than that, we've got 3 people already going with this story being a lie. Ken Lofgren, Borland, Doughboy. And Ken Lofgren just dropped some really long paragraphs, so give me a second, I'll read
Okay,
that.
yeah, because I want to know why
There we
they.
go.
I
why
would
they-
go to the car too. I think
Yeah,
it seems safe
yeah,
in there. But
yeah.
I know that's kind of where that seems like the safest spot.
5 years ago,
you
and
would
to
look
run back
around.
to your apartment
Yeah,
to
yeah.
use a landline.
No, I didn't have a landline.
I
She
know.
wanted
So,
to be in a safe
The
place.
the apartment is for the safety.
Yeah.
of it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
little did she know, ghost shit inside the apartment.
Classic ghost.
Yeah, classic ghost
I
shit.
had a crackhead run up to my car and had the same fear.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean a crack?
Like I was actually, it was like 2 a.m, and I was driving, and there was a guy just standing in the middle of the street, and
Uh-huh.
I had to go. My light was green, and he was just standing, and he just ended up charging at my car.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And what you would think like a ghost, right? But obviously it's a real person. And so he ran at my car, and then I had to drive around him. But I remember I was just like shaking.
Yeah, I had a
Uh-huh.
guy get out of his car and spit on me.
What?
That was
But
a
that's her
Tinder
Tinder
date.
date.
Jinx!
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were role playing.
Wow. Well, that's a good story. I mean, you told 2 really good stories. That's interesting. Yeah. Going up to your apartment. But how did so the lights were all off in your apartment and they were all on and
Yeah.
the water was
Yeah, because I leave early.
Uh-huh.
I had to commute then. and
Uh-huh.
come back, and I want to pay the electricity, So
Right.
I turned everything off. But it was just odd that the one faucet was on,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, okay, I would never leave a faucet
So what
on.
did she look like?
She's just it was this pretty Asian girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you saw her whole body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
because
was
when I
like-
saw a ghost, I only saw the head.
Oh yeah, no, she was like,
Was
kinda
she like in a
crouched.
fetal position?
She like crouched, like
She was like this. I'm ready. What do you think she was? Like was she like how was
Yeah.
she laying?
You've
She
seen The
was kinda
Grudge.
like-
and
yeah,
shit.
it was-
You know how they be.
I hate to
Hair
make that
hanging down.
comparison, yeah, but
like you
it
said,
was
ghost shit.
yeah,
shit.
exactly.
Ghost shit.
And like it's one of those things you're like, did I really see that, or is a movie in your
What
head?
did her hair
But,
look like?
like long black hair.
Was
yeah.
it like in her like face, like the
She
ring?
just
Of course it was.
It was a grudge.
All right. Austin, what are people saying?
Always 54 says if the ghost can apparate into the car parking lot area, then apparating in the apartment should be no
Well,
problem
it did
at all.
apparate in the apartment,
But
from what
not
she's
in front
saying.
of apparating would be appearing like becoming an apparition in front of it. Then do that. And Ken Lofgren tells us his little ghost story that he was playing Madden in his dorm one night and turns around to see his volume on his stereo being turned up with nobody around or nobody near.
That's some more classic ghost shit.
Yeah,
Knobs.
yeah.
I love knobs.
But then
cabinet doors,
Christian
switches.
tagged
lot
on to
of
that and
drips.
said, Kenneth, it was probably the CIA agent that watches him because he's very into conspiracy theories. So
He's a different duck. He's a different duck.
he is, yeah.
Wow, how long after that experience from the death? How long?
It was a week.
It was
Same
a week.
Yeah.
That seems like some pretty powerful stuff to go down in the apartment.
It's funny
for
too
a
that
week.
the rat dieted a week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's always a week.
It's always a week.
Damn.
It's always a week.
It's a Halloween
Uh-huh.
related. I'm weirded out by stuff, and I've had just in general, like my mom. We had when my grandpa passed. This is another weird thing that had happened. My grandpa passed, and she sent me a picture, and she said that the tension rod of the shower curtain was like lowered all the way, and that was just the weirdest thing to me. So I've had that
They
happen.
just fall sometimes.
No, this one was like
It's called a tension rod,
It was tension, and
and sometimes the tension breaks.
No,
Yeah.
it was literally like someone had taken it and moved it all the way down.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it can slide down like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened to me before.
I don't know. It was right after my
Did
grandpa.
your
It
grandpa
wasn't a
like
week.
to shower a lot?
Without a curtain.
I don't know. It was
like,
we've had some weird
finally.
stuff.
Finally, I'll get this goddamn curtain the way I want it. All these years.
Yeah. I just have a hard time believing that last part of the story. I mean, and that it was only 5 years ago, and that you didn't Google and find out what had happened there. That's weird to me.
Well, I was looking into the story for a while. And then
For how
I
long were you
just-
looking into the story?
Probably like up until I moved to OC.
Uh-huh.
Because I moved to Sacramento for a bit, and I just
Uh-huh.
like, well, that's part of my past.
All right. All right.
Real quick, A13 VJ wants to know, small feet or none on the ghost?
Yes. Did you see her feet?
Was it a tail situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Casper style.
Probably wearing flip flops, like really cute little flip flops. I don't know.
When I'm home, I don't want to run errands or have to figure out a meal plan, especially because I have kids. That's why Blue Apron is a great solution. Their chef-designed recipes are easy to follow and give you a balanced, delicious meal. Blue Apron is a quick and easy way to make high-quality meals that everyone can enjoy. Use promo code LIARS to get $30 off your first order. Blue Apron, take back dinner.
All right, Trey's first story. He was an Applebee's waiter in college in Cookeville, Tennessee, and this super Cajun sounding swamp
Cookeville?
person.
How convenient. Hold on, Cookeville?
What?
Cooksville, yeah. Tennessee.
Cookville. He's a
What?
waiter.
Yeah, but then it would only be ironic if it was Waitersville.
Nice.
You don't know
There's
shit
lots
about
of
irony.
there's lots of vills. I can attest that there's lots of vills in the East Tennessee area.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
Sevierville's by there,
Uh-huh.
somewhere
We
Hendersonville.
have
So,
Greenville.
Maryville.
so
Oh,
he's
cool.
an Applebee's waiter in college in Cookeville, Tennessee, and the super Cajun sounded swamp person and his meth monster wife stumble in with their 5 little waterhead babies, and it is a super busy shift, which is tough on Trey because he hasn't been there too long. And when he gets to the dad's order, he just quickly blasts through his order to him, and Trey realizes that the guy was missing a side order once he goes to ring it in. So he just tacked on the mac and cheese, which ends up really offending Swamp Daddy. So as a result, he fork flips the mac right off the plate, which really embarrassed poor Trey. Because the manager took his side. So kind of sucked for Trey. Story 2, he landed a prank show pilot for CMT in Knoxville, Tennessee called Prove It by snorting hot sauce, where his responsibilities included getting chest slapped from a dirty toilet mop and eating blindfolded peppers that looked all the same to him and sing Taylor Swift songs in a banana suit. With a separate group of super Mormony Mormons, put that in quotation marks because that's his words, but he never huffed air freshener, Jessica, so that's one thing you guys don't have in common. Unfortunately, the project never got greenlit, and he had a terrible 4 or 5 years after that.
Yeah.
Probably being in Knoxville do it. dude.
Yeah. That's about the size of it. The peppers were not blindfolded. I was
You were
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I think the I'm gonna say that the second one is a lie.
Why?
Just a feeling, just go shit.
Go shit.
I just have this feeling. I don't know. I did say that maybe it was because he's remembering all this and telling the story, but the way it sounded more like a country X Factor, not like a prank show to me. You know what I mean?
But when you did those pranks, you did it like in public
Yeah.
places.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
yeah, but
hidden
not to other
camera.
people, but to him.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. Not to other. I mean, unless you count getting like aggressively sang to by a banana. You know what I mean?
You know, this is trauma. This is very real trauma. I can hear it in his voice. He had to do this shit. You know what I mean? He said banana aggressive like 6 times since we started.
You know what's interesting is before we started the show, he's like, I'm notorious for being like the worst liar around my friends. And I didn't see that big of a difference between the truth and the lie.
That's a liar thing to say, though.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It really is.
I
It
He
agree.
really
said that
is.
at the time.
Yeah, I
He
was like, this is all
he's
strategy.
gaming y'all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I believe both stories. I got a huge issue on my hands back here.
Who were the other comics that got, were the other 3 on that show?
My buddy Drew, who tours with me and lives out here now, his wife, who's an actress, not a comic. We all did and then this guy, the Knoxville guy named, his real name's Eric. He went by Waylon.
Oh, did you see that, Huff?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Oh.
seemed very acting.
If you now, I don't have time to go into it.
You guys are tripping. I believe him.
It was a whole thing with him, with Eric / he had like 4 different names, and it was a running joke amongst us. So when I had to say his name, I just had, but it ain't worth getting into.
So
But that's
when
what that was
you
about.
were a waiter at the Applebee's and this situation happened with that gentleman and his family, what kind of table were they sitting at? Were they in a booth?
7
Were they in
top,
a-
2 adults.
Yeah, kind of like, yes, like it's not oval like this, but about like this,
Yeah.
and three chairs and 3 chairs typically with like a kid seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the only place we had to
Right.
put 7 tops.
And when
I
he
guess you could have the big round ones, but
Right.
it wasn't one of those.
and when he flicked the bun away, did one of the children like catch the bun, or they were just like, just let Daddy flick that bun away?
Definitely. Well, first of all, he flicked it like in my general direction and out onto the floor, and they were behind him, so they would have had to like jump up and go around him to get it. But also, yeah, they were.
Were all the kids quiet as this was happening?
No, I mean they were like coloring like on the table and fucking.
So
fucking
they
hollering
were.
at
It
each
was
other.
normal for their dad to act this way. They weren't like
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear the way I described the guy?
Yeah.
Very normal.
That's a difficult one to decide.
Leah thinks that the first story, the Applebee story, is a lie based
Yeah.
on the fact that it was such a boring story that there were no
Yeah.
teeth to it, which to me kind of usually would make me tend to believe that it's true. Like
But
that.
there is teeth to it. This guy pitched a fit over some
Hey,
mac and
I'm
cheese
just the
and
messenger
a
here for
roll.
the folks on YouTube. Don't blame
Look,
me.
Leah.
Oh,
I'm not supposed to go with what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm not supposed to go with Kenneth here, but I believe the second story. I think there's just something simple enough to invent about this.
Yeah, and because he did say I'm not a good liar, I think that his lie wouldn't have been as inventive as the second story. It would have been super simple.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Or he's just such a bad liar that he went with something extravagant like an idiot.
Or
but I
like
don't
you
think
just
that's the
said,
case.
he's so good that he has set all of you up, and you guys are fucked.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
You know, nothing's gonna happen to us, Jessica, if we lose this game today. You know that, right?
I
You
know.
go home, your fucking water's gonna be out.
You ghost
I've been a
shit.
ghost this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm apparating everywhere.
You're apparating.
Apparat.
Okay, I'm gonna say the second story is the true story. And what are you gonna say, Austin?
Oh, God, it's tough. And I'm kind of counting up votes here for the audience right now. Right now, I have Leah and A13 as first lie. Kenny, Marino, Doughboy, Jason Borland all going second lie.
Oh wait.
God, I'm never right when Kenny plays. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's kind of the team monkey bone situation
Yeah.
with
So
Michael Evans in
Kenneth
there.
and we're good. We need to be opposite, I think.
Yeah, but whenever you say that and we go opposite, we always lose because then I'm all like, oh, you should vote with you and Kenny.
I
And
know,
then,
we gotta
and then
figure out.
Jessica's always right.
We gotta figure out where you fit into
okay.
this whole
Doughboy says no buns at Applebee's or no rolls as
I think
Trae
a roll
brought up.
does come with a steak dinner. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It definitely. This has been
Oh, that's a good
10,
point, though.
10 or
That's
more.
good.
This has been. I mean, I was 22. This has been over 10 years ago. They definitely
They had a
came
roll.
with a
yeah.
dinner roll at
If
that
you have
time.
a
They may not
steak, you
now.
get a
I don't
roll.
know, but they definitely used to. 100%.
Yeah.
I think that is. I'm gonna stick and say second story is a lie because I think that is an important detail.
So you hold on. So the first story is the Applebee's.
Right. I
You think that's true?
I think that's a lie. I'm saying the second story is true because I I can't remember rolls at Applebee's. And where my family's from, there's the Applebee's is the only place to eat, and I don't remember rolls.
Dude, I don't know if I remember rolls at Applebee's.
I don't either. I've been to some Applebee's, and Applebee's is my least favorite of the chain restaurants,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I cannot still remember.
A roll?
A
Every
roll
white
there.
trash
Yeah.
eatery that you go to is going to have a roll, especially with a steak.
Did you guys
Right.
have Sherry's?
It was like
No.
Wow.
No.
Well, sorry, we'll move on.
That's okay.
Right. What?
That's some
Idiots.
Northwest shit right
Yeah,
there,
that's
right?
bad.
Yeah,
Northwest, indeed.
Yeah.
Waste.
What do you think, Jazz? Which one of his stories do you think is true or false?
I think.
Use your
Let me
intuition.
Ask
the Asian girl.
Let me apparate a little bit. I feel like the second story could be true.
Oh, so you think the Impractical Jokers is true?
I do, yeah, because I just feel like that. I mean, who would snort hot sauce? I mean, how can you make that up?
I know so many dudes in high school
How
that
do you make
snorted
that?
hot sauce,
Yeah.
though.
I
So
have
many.
teenage
So
boys.
many?
Yeah.
What do you mean so many?
They did it all the time
and
at
second
lunch,
story
wherever.
true
Like,
is what I mean.
You think the Impractical Jokers thing
yeah,
is true?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
God.
There was a lot to it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going the same way. I think the first story's a lie,
Yeah.
so I think that Trey's a little more cunning than he's
Yeah,
letting on.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
gotta
So
figure it out.
wholesome. There was no birthday song.
Yeah.
You know, the first one.
It's
Yeah.
I believe there's a birthday song at Applebee's.
Yeah. It's so funny that this whole outcome relies on if buns are at Applebee's and if Impractical Jokers was on long enough to spawn a show like that. That's the only thing where I get a little tied
what
up.
if that show spawned Impractical Jokers, though?
No.
No.
They
Yeah.
were already. It was on the air for sure. I don't know if they had just started or what, but like it was
God,
definitely.
that's where it makes
already
me
a
think
thing.
it's not true, and then I almost want to go against it. What do you're saying the second story is true?
Nope, I'm saying that the Applebee's is true.
Oh fuck! Now I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna say
Oh,
this
my God.
is how I lose the game. I'm gonna say it, the Applebee's.
Oh, I don't
stories.
want you with me.
Oh,
But again,
that's hurtful.
That was
Yes.
pretty
you and
bad.
Ken Lofgren are in a way in the same boat because he's wanting to switch too. So I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. I know
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys
gonna-
have some weird chemistry
I'm
when you guys
gonna
start voting against each other.
I'm gonna switch because I just can't. In order to get Spawn a second show off of the popularity of one show, that was a show that was on True TV, and I think it kind of took a while to take off because my kids were really into it. God, I'm gonna say the first. I'm switching. The first story is true.
Okay,
All right,
welcome
all right.
to my world.
All right, Trey.
Can I go now?
Which-
Wait, hold on. Let me make sure. Let me make
This
sure I
is
have
the
this
worst
right.
part, just so everyone knows, as far as
true-
I'm concerned.
Jessica, true. First story, true.
First story
Applebee's
true.
First story,
true.
true.
Yeah.
Mike, first story, lie.
Yeah.
And me too. And you
Okay,
too,
okay.
Jazz.
All right. So which story is the lie?
The Applebee story.
Yeah!
You
Whoa!
I suck at my own game.
Told you I didn't want you with me.
I work. It's like I worked at O'Charlie's. I did white tables for 5 years. I worked at O'Charlie's. I had many such encounters with people
Right.
like that.
That
Specific one I made, and that's actually because it really is a thing with my friends that I'm a bad liar. And my strategy was pick something that's like
You've done.
really, really close to a thing that could be true but isn't, like a shitty, table
Okay.
story
Yeah.
from being a server. So that's how I landed.
So you
on
never waited tables at Applebee's?
that. Just
So you
O'Charlie's.
can't tell us if they have rolls.
No, or the birthday song. Dude, honestly, the birthday, that was the part I was like, oh, fuck. Like you asked me, and my knee-jerk reaction was, no, I never said, because O'Charlie's, which is a very similar place, they really don't do the birthday song. They never have. So you're like saying, and I was like, no, we didn't do that. And then immediately I was like, fuck, I bet Applebee's does that shit. And then I thought that was going to be the thing that sunk me. But
You
yeah.
know- you
And
know-
the
You're
second
good.
one is, yeah, completely true. They had the North-South, like, the production company that makes the Practical Jokers is called North-South, and the South in that is Knoxville for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're like based there, and that's how that ended up happening.
I love our podcast just for the fact that today we're like, oh my God, we got Trae Crowder. We're twirling our hair by the end of the podcast. That fucking Trae Crowder is Applebee's story.
Not me and Michael or Jazz,
Yeah,
but
okay.
Yeah, me
All
and
right,
Trey are
let's-
just closer now.
Let's move on to Jazz's stories.
all right. Jazz's first story. She's experienced a lot of weird paranormal stuff, and that has nothing to do with this story, but almost. She. she's over in Huntington Beach, and she stumbles across some kind of beach worm, and she scoops this thing up to investigate it with her new bathroom fan, and then there were 2 of them all of a sudden in the bathroom, and she goes back in the bathroom later, and suddenly there's like 5. They're followed from the ceiling fan, the new fan in there. So she tapes the thing shut, the fan, with paper, but they're aggressive and broke through. Luckily, the maintenance guy found out it was just a dead rat that somehow she did not smell after all that time, which my grandfather had a dead rat in his hunting truck, an old Ford. It smelled terrible. I mean, we couldn't find it. It was like in the engine somewhere. It smelled terrible. I don't know if I buy that, but... Story 2, she moved into an apartment that was overlooking a business center with a bunch of oddly placed businesses where cars would pull up and guys would walk in with cute little Asian girls in bikinis, so she came to realize it was a good old-fashioned Jack Shack. But one night, the cops cracked down on prostitution in the Bay Area and raided this building, and possibly a dead hooker was removed
I would
from
think
the
it
building.
wasn't a raid. It was somebody died, so that's why they got called.
Could be that. Yeah, it could be that. And then she goes out to the car at 5:30 a.m., and there's a little Asian girl hiding behind her rear tire. She turns around for just a second, and suddenly the ghost of this Asian girl disappears. She's freaked out, and when she goes back inside, all her lights and her faucets were on. Oh my God!
Okay.
Ghost shit.
Boo.
Yeah,
I
you
like
know,
the recap.
why? I think so. If you're saying that a young girl died in the Jack Shack, if you're saying that, what would a young girl? Then it must have been either an aggressive murder, and that you wouldn't have that information. Like if a guy just had a heart attack and it was like some guy, that makes more sense, and it would be a girl. That's where
That's where I'm getting hung up too.
What are your thoughts there, Trae? How can I escape this podcast room as
No,
fast as possible?
I've had a good time. I mean, I guess I'm leaning towards the second one being the lie, just because all the ghost shit at the end of it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Too much ghost
Too much
shit.
ghost shit, and it's too on the nose ghost shit. Too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, that's my. That's because to me the first one is pretty. Like I guess I mean, and I did the same thing, but the first one is kind of just a very standard sort of thing that you got a dead rat, it gets maggots. They they do maggot shit.
Right.
It's like, and
Maggot shit.
And
like
I'm on
maggot
board
shit.
for maggot shit. You know.
And it's like I don't know. I just feel like, but again, maybe that's like part of. Maybe you got a strategy there. And that's
But
what
here's
that's about,
my big question: how did that ghost know what apartment you lived in?
Because
Well, she knew her
feel
ghost
I
reasons.
was always looking. Like I believe in energy. So actually with the rat thing, I thought there was like a bad omen trying to tell me to leave the apartment. Like I'm one of those everything if there's something weird, it's I'm believing it's something telling me. So the rat was that was the whole bad energy, and then I realized okay, I had to calm down. But the girl, I think I was putting the energy that I was recognizing that building. Like all the time. And I did look for like a few days after. So I just thought maybe I was attracting that energy.
Maybe just before that girl died, she was looking out her window and made eye contact with this poor Asian woman, and she saw her close the door in her bikini, and then she died, and that was the last person she looked dead in the eye.
I don't want to see that look on your face as you repeat a story ever again, Jessica. Number one, you were like really fucking invested. I was like, God damn, girl. Shit. What are people online saying, Austin?
Right now, one of the more interesting things I found is that Leah is going with the first story being a lie because she can't believe that somebody doesn't know what a maggot looks like.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I would think. But what's tripping me up about that first story is that she started out with the paranormal thing. She was like, here's something paranormal that happened. Well, and then never went into something paranormal.
Well, I
with
think
that.
she just now kind of explained
Yeah,
that.
she did.
Well, now she covered her ass,
Yeah,
but
right.
in the time
Yeah,
she messed up, and that's why I'm leaning
She
towards
also
that
like
being
her
a lie, probably.
maggots. Like, would you call maggots like squishy?
Is she worms?
She said it was like I was picturing
Well,
like a bit like a
Yeah.
slug.
Well, I
type
forgot who it was, but they were
situation.
like,
maggots are real small.
tiny.
Well,
They're real small.
I Googled mealworms right away.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was because I've never seen maggots, so I right away was like, oh, it's a mealworm. And then because I've seen like what people feed reptiles and fish.
Well,
So I was like, where's the source? You know?
But when I, as I shared my lovely trailer story about the maggots, there was like 100 maggots.
Right.
Like, and I'm not exaggerating.
No, they were coming.
But
yeah.
you said there were only like 5 or
But
2.
They were
there were a
yeah.
shitload.
Mhm.
There were so many up there
Yeah.
that a couple trickled out, is what it
Mhm.
sounded
Right.
like.
Yeah.
How many days do you think it takes a rat to start smelling?
Immediately.
Yeah.
They stink already.
Yeah.
They
She
already
said it was
stink.
during the hot time
Mhm.
when, yeah.
Not right away.
Yes.
They already stink. They stink walking around.
I think it's convenient. It was an exhaust
I
fan.
never
That's
s-
what that covers that part for me, I think.
Oh, good point. That actually fucks with my whole. That's how I was gonna decide.
It's sucking the smell up and out.
But,
Damn,
Yeah, but the
Jay,
fan,
that's
but the
crazy.
fan isn't on all the time.
yeah, and when it was dead in my grandpa's truck, it's under the carriage of the truck somewhere, and somehow we're smelling it all the way inside this old 1970s truck, and even got air conditioning.
that you smell gasoline, you get high because I have an old truck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm high right now.
Yeah. All right. So, what are you voting, Jessica?
I'm gonna vote that the ghost shit is a lie.
The ghost shit is a lie.
I think the maggot shit is real.
Okay.
Whoa.
Me too. Just because, like, if it's the other way around, it's like, we're acknowledging some ghost shit. Like, that's
Yeah, I don't
crazy.
believe ghost shit. Thank
But
you.
that's the thing. Somebody commented on here that everybody believes their own ghost shit. So she could be as convicted as possible because it happened to her. It doesn't matter if y'all believe it or not,
So that could-
because it's
so-
her own. It's something that happened to her.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, it just makes
So
sense.
she could just be crazy.
Well,
But if she believes it, that still
Yeah.
counts as. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
what
how it
we're
works.
trying to figure out, if that second story is true, we're trying to figure out who turned on the faucet and the
Yeah,
lights
that's
and
where
shit.
and I've witnessed 2 ghosts. Fuck y'all, and that's where you lose me is the faucet
Me-
on
yeah,
and
me too.
the lights. Because
Hashtag
maybe if
me
it was
too.
5:30 in the morning, you just left your house with the water on and the lights on. Maybe you weren't focusing because it was so early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
All right.
Damn.
Michael,
Ghost shit, not real.
Okay, I'm
That
gonna vote
you-
the ghost thing is not real
Not
either.
real.
Yeah.
And Michael,
Michael?
what was yours?
Oh shit! I'm gonna vote the ghost thing is not real. I can't believe I'm going
And
with.
Trey, I'm sorry.
Same.
Same.
Woo, come
Austin?
on with me.
Austin.
I'm a believer of ghost shit, so I'm going
Yes, he
ghost
believes.
shit
Yeah.
real.
He thinks there's been 7 ghosts in here so far
Well,
during
today.
this hour. Yeah. All right, Jazz. What story is the lie?
The lie is the ghost story. But I would like to say, no, the rat I did think was something like bad to
Right, it was
figure
You
like
out.
an
really
omen.
didn't smell it?
I didn't smell it.
That's
Didn't
so
smell
weird.
it. Yeah. And
That's so
but
weird.
at the same
Shut up.
time, for work, I was traveling to Arizona a lot too.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I was back and forth, but I did live next to the rub and tug. Shit you not. All that stuff happened, but not the raid and the
Right.
arrest. But I did watch men go in and out and have my friends like look from the kitchen window like, there they are.
No,
and
yeah.
so no one ever, caught
See,
them.
it's a safe
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and I still want to do it now.
Okay, you can be the house mother at the rub and tug.
Somebody said that you should at least play that in a movie, if nothing else.
Yes.
And I
You can
redirected them to Pornhub.
You
Hopefully
can-
they'll find your features there.
be the house mother and the bouncer. Those are 2 great stories from each of you. Thank you so much for playing along. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up? What would you like our listeners to know about you that they can go check out?
Me first.
Yeah, go
Sure,
ahead.
why
Yeah.
not?
All right. Just Trae Crowder, Trae Crowder on all the social stuff. I tour a lot. Well Read, RED, Well Read Comedy Tour, wellreadcomedy.com. Find tickets, all that shit. And got some Comedy Central digital sketches, some that are out already and some more that we're working on
wonderful.
right now. So check
Wonderful.
those out.
Oh,
Nice,
cool,
nice.
cool. How old are your kids?
7 and 8.
Oh, it's gonna go fast now.
It already is, shit.
Yeah. And what about you?
So I'm Jaz Wick, WICK. You can find me Instagram, Jazzy Jokes, and I have a show at the Improv Irvine coming up Tuesday, February 25th.
Okay, great.
That's coming up.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big supporter of dogs, so that's what people know me as. And
Uh-huh.
I also want a quick shout out to my family that we have a dog treat company that we started. So that's another thing. I want to kind of collaborate, maybe do some comedy events with Humane Society and stuff. But Howling for Treats is like our new little human, all natural dog treat that we're doing. So Really passionate about dogs.
Yeah, dog shit, dude.
Yeah, dog shit.
Dog shit.
So that's it for now.
All right, Michael, why don't you shout out your stuff?
Oh, here's my stuff. You can follow my Instagram at High Five Michael. I'm doing stand-up around town all the time, and I post it when I'm going to do it on there. I'm funnier than this on stage, I promise. Come see me do stand-up.
No, he's very, very funny. And what about you, Austin?
I'm at the Austin Walker on everything. I am hosting trivia at Barney's Beanery in Burbank on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. So come hang out there and we'll learn some stuff together or whatever you do at trivia. We are here at the Liars Club Belly Room of the World Famous Comedy Store on March 3rd. So make sure you guys stay tuned to Instagram and stuff for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great show. Who do we
got Kyle Kinane. And we have
Eliza
Traeger.
And we have Jack Jr.
Yeah.
And
he's great.
I have my fingers crossed for a secret guest. I'm still waiting to hear back from her. It's going to be good, though.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't even tell me.
Yeah, I asked, and I'm waiting to hear back.
We're also at Ice House March 13th. I don't know if we've had anybody booked yet.
Yeah.
Put that on your
calendars.
We
have Jamie Kennedy, too.
Yes, Jamie Kennedy on the Comedy
Sweet.
Store show. Yeah, it's really going to be a great show. I'm sorry that you're going to be out of town because we would have loved to have you on that show, but we definitely will have you on another one
Me too.
for sure. And by the way, our Ice House Pasadena show, what was it?
Sold the
fuck out. It was lit city,
It was
too.
a really awesome show. Thank you so much for the Ice House for hosting our little show on that. And if you have Amazon Prime, do me a big favor and go on there. And if you could check out my comedy special, it's more of a confessional special with comedy called My Whole Story, and my little documentary I made called Pervs, and it has all sorts of cool people in it like Felicia Esparza, Lori Kilmartin, Paul Provenza, Joey Diaz, and many, many more. I would certainly appreciate that. And we are going to be at the North Carolina Comedy Festival on March 26th and 27th.
Yeah, and before that, we're in Alabama.
We're at the Stardome in Alabama, and a great club, and we'll see how that goes. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So if you're out and about in those kind of areas, please give us a look up.
Yes, and follow me at Jess Wellington, too. The week before that, too, 19th through the 22nd, I'm going to be opening up for Russell Peters at the Comedy Zone in North Carolina, so come there. Check me out. My 2 lines that I have in Good Girls is going to be coming up, so be watching that. The first episode just came out.
Oh,
so
nice.
Should be any moment now. And watch my Grace and Frankie. And thank you, guys. You have been lied to.
Oh, did you guys feel that? I think it was a ghost maggot. Just fell
I'm not telling that one.
Disney believe Will the real liar please stand up? Right?
She's totally serious.
And you have been lied to.